Even if somebody gets access to data, how do I make sure it's private? How do I make sure it's encrypted? Your security issues. Audit trails and compliance documents are important parts for a company to keep in case there is data loss, in case there is theft. We'll not talk about it right now, but these are important aspects of a company's norms and procedures. Let's come to the next topic, which is vendor positioning. Where do all the vendors play? Take a company like Wipro. Right? Wipro is a service provider in the cloud. So Wipro comes and says, I will give you a virtualized server. I will do virtualization. I will set a private cloud in your premises. I'll give you a virtualized server. I will set up the whole thing. I can give you a private cloud. I can give you a platform as a service. I can give you a public cloud. So he will, let's say your ICICI Bank, Wipro will come and say, I will sit with you, I will work with you, I'll take a stock of all your applications, and I will make sure it is moved to cloud in an optimum way. You can still keep all the documents with yourself, not go to the cloud, and you can keep some of them in the cloud. You look at Google. Google is all over the cloud. Email, your Google Drive, your Google Office, your platform sharing, your social network, which is Google Plus, I think, then you have YouTube. All play available in the cloud. You look at Cisco. Cisco is a networking vendor, a storage switch vendor. So Cisco has a collaborative thing called WebEx. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about WebEx. Very good collaborative site. It also will play in the networking area. You can see Salesforce.com playing here. You can see Windows Azure giving you platform as a service. So vendors will play in different areas. Finally, one comment on one of the maybe the most popular cloud company, which is called Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com started maybe around 10 years back, and I was one of the first users of Salesforce.com when I was in Cisco. It's a wonderful way of doing things. So they started by saying all your sales related issues will be on the cloud. It's called Sales CRM. Everything started on the cloud. So you can access it whenever you want, very different format. All upgrades were available, all updates were available. They started with Sales Cloud, then they moved on to service. So if you are working with a customer, everything about their service, how you are performing with respect to the customer, if there are any customer calls, have you attended to them, everything is visible at one shot. Then slowly the next technology which started coming in was collaboration. So in as much as most of you use Facebook and people know what you do, where you press a like button or you press one of those things and people say, I appreciate it, I don't appreciate it. They said, how do you do it with respect to enterprise customers? So they have a collaboration with LinkedIn, and by which, each customer says, everybody can see what each customer is thinking about each other, and they share it with each other. So collaboration in the cloud for enterprise customers is also part of Salesforce.com. Collaboration for students like you is by and large through Facebook, I presume. I don't know how many people use Google Plus, but I presume Facebook or Orkut or one of the most popular one. Force.com is platform as a service. It's a special service available from Salesforce.com. So Salesforce says, all my applications are on the cloud. So anything you want with the customer, anything you want with service, anything you want with collaboration, I'm giving it to you. Now, we have heard about Google and its various aspects. This particular video will give you a good insight about Google in the cloud. What are the various technologies which go in? You will be amazed at the amount of security which they have in the cloud, because cloud has to be very, very secure. Networking, storage, processing, cooling power, and so on. So have a look at this video. It could take 3 to 4 minutes, but it's a very good video.
Get ready to go inside Google's cloud. The tech giant has 12 data centers around the world. They are the engines that make Google run, and they contain a lot of sensitive information about you.
Now, for the first time, the company has invited cameras inside its top-secret facility in North Carolina. Michelle Miller went along for this story that you'll only see here on CBS this morning.
With all the patrols, fences, barbed wire, and steel barriers designed to slice through cars, it would be easy to mistake this place for Fort Knox. But it's really a Google data center. For many years, the company refused to admit these even existed. Even today, no visitor may enter without first signing a non-disclosure agreement.
To say that you're not going to take any unauthorized pictures, you're not going to talk about anything that you see.
Inside, security is just as tight. Retina scans determine who has access, something even many Google executives don't have. Every single person entering and leaving is tracked. If more than one person enters through the doors at once, alarms sound. Have you ever had a breach at this facility?
No.
Never.
No. Let's go ahead.
Our tour guide is Google's Senior Vice President, Boris Hoeksnick, known for his trademark red socks and one of the company's first employees.
My first job title was search engine mechanic, and I picked that because everything was broken. Google was down, searches took 5 seconds.
Now Hoeksnick is in charge of building and running all of Google's data centers. In the industry, you're known as the infrastructure czar.
Mm-hmm.
Flattered by that?
Yes.
Yes. Our first stop, the networking room. It's like air traffic control. Every time a user asks Google for something, that request is first routed here and then directed to another computer on the server floor. How many servers are on this floor?
So today we have 55,200.
The sheer size and scale of the place is breathtaking. Employees must wear earplugs to protect their hearing from the constant whir of tens of thousands of machines.
So each of these servers basically is like a PC, except somewhat more powerful.
And when one of those servers goes down, we saw firsthand what it takes to repair or replace them. Recently, the industry came under fire for being energy hogs, consuming huge amounts of electricity to keep servers running in air-conditioned rooms. On our tour, Google was very eager to show us how they were reducing their carbon footprint here at the data centers. That's because the company is very protective of its green image, according to Wired Magazine's Stephen Levy. He has covered Google for years and also got a tour of the Lenore data center.
The opening of data centers really comes from their feeling that they can't keep this themselves.
Google reduced a lot of its energy consumption by simply raising the temperature on the server floor from a chilly 68 degrees to a balmy 80.
We're estimating that we saved over $1 billion in the history of Google through these efficiency measures.
At Lenore, Google says only 10% of the electricity is not used to power its servers. Another Google innovation, replacing wasteful air conditioners with a water-based cooling system. But for all of the company's efforts to become energy efficient, a lot of their power still comes from non-renewable sources.
The power here comes from whatever the local utility provides, which in North Carolina is about 2/3 covered. We are currently at about 35% renewable energy, and we're aiming to get eventually to 100%.
Google says this is the only time they'll allow TV cameras inside their server floor. But in an effort to be more open, they say they will put up video and pictures of all their data centers on their website.
It's amazing how all of this works and that it works at all. And the fact that they always do is really amazing.
For CBS This Morning, Michelle Miller, Lenore, North Carolina.
It's interesting to see inside, but I wonder if it addresses some of the privacy concerns that people have about Google.
Well, it's interesting you said it because Michelle actually came out with a printout of your whole.
So that was a good video, but and if you want to capture the highlights, we are talking about security, we are talking about networking, we are talking about storage, we are talking processing and cooling power. I'll move on to opportunities. So we have seen this technology, we have seen that it's growing. What does it offer to all of us? What is available? What is so thing for us? First slide, this slide talks about really the growth of the industry. We are saying it with the various things. It says the public cloud is growing by 26%, obviously throwing up a lot of jobs. What are the jobs in the cloud? So I have googled, I have spoken to some people, and I've highlighted some of the entry level jobs which are available in the cloud today. The first one is a cloud architect and a consultant. It's available at an entry level, it is available at an advanced level. A cloud architect is somebody who sits with the customer and helps them to migrate to the cloud. Right? So how does he does a value proposition, cost benefit analysis, and says these are the applications which move to the cloud and I will help you move them. There's a cloud engineer. So the cloud engineer is basically infrastructure as a service. He helps you provisioning. He says if you want so much amount of data, so much amount of virtualization, I will do it for you. Then there's a cloud security expert. You saw how important security was in this whole thing about cloud. There's a cloud security expert who works on this and says your application, these part of applications are secured because they are encrypted. These part of applications are not secure, they are encrypted. These have privacy, these don't have privacy. There's a data center engineer. You saw the importance of data centers. Data center engineer is working to make sure that the data center is used fully efficiently. There's a provisioning engineer who works with the customer and provision what he wants. And finally, there's a cloud apps engineer who takes your application, make sure works with maybe a Windows Azure and make sure it is ported onto the cloud. So these are some of the entry-level jobs which are there. Some of them maybe a cloud consultant would be at a slightly maybe a person with 4 or 5 years experience. These are the most popular jobs is what I've seen. There's another one I saw, which is one of the top cloud companies. It's called Amazon. I looked at the resume. They have wanted a number of cloud engineers, and I was looking at some of that what their job description was. It says you'll be surrounded by people who are wickedly smart, passionate about cloud computing. He then talks about will use groundbreaking technologies and will work with Amazon Web Services architects. Then he talks about basic qualification where he says you should have customer experience and you should have great communication skills. And the last point there is self-starter who's excited about the technology. Preferred qualifications, you can be a networking person, you can be a programmer, you can be a Java, .NET, any kind of person. But the important part is you should have understanding of virtualization technologies and or you should have understanding of cloud services. So if you really look at it, what Amazon wants other than your normal knowledge is they want smart, passionate people who are passionate about their jobs, people who are passionate about cloud computing. They want people who are self-started and who's interested in learning new things, learning new technologies, because cloud is a very, very new technology in itself. It's growing very fast. If you're not very passionate about it, if you're not wanting to learn a new thing every day, you may not be successful. And of course, you should know something about the cloud. You should be knowing something either about virtualization or something about cloud services. This is what Amazon says, and I think this will by and large apply to most people like you. Some more again in terms of jobs, Business Standard says 2 million jobs in India, and globally they are talking of 14 million jobs. A lot of them would be out of India. 14 million global jobs would be available by 2015. This is what the IDC survey talks about. There's a lot more data available here. I'm just giving you some of the highlights. What are the companies which are hiring in big numbers? There's Amazon, Google, VMware, Rackspace, Salesforce.com. These are the international companies. A lot of them have an arm in India and are hiring as well. IBM, NetSuite. Let's look at some of the Indian companies. If you look at the Indian companies, I've taken the top 3 or 4 companies. Each one has a cloud portfolio. Every one of them has a cloud portfolio and every one of them is hiring. So if you look at it, we have TCS, we have Infosys, Wipro, L&T Infotech, a brief on their cloud portfolio is going on. So it's proliferated, it's all over the place. Cloud computing is here very much to stay. So I'd sum it up by saying the world is moving ahead with cloud computing. Are you ready to get there? So thank you very much. If you have any questions you can ask, more than happy to answer them. It can be on any topic. Something which will help you develop and build applications in the cloud. So Microsoft says I've got my own stack. Amazon says I've got my own stack. So there's a set of like Linux. Linux is an open source operating system, right? There's a set of people who come and saying I've got an open stack which will help you build applications in the cloud. So it's equal. It's a Linux version of stack for the cloud. Chances of you getting somebody else's data is very unlikely. So this is done by something called virtualization. So virtualization is a technology by which there are so many servers, the data, wherever there is availability of space, you use it smartly. So it is done by techniques called virtualization and clustering, which say I make sure that my storage space is fully utilized and my server processing power is fully utilized. So virtualization and clustering do this stuff. I have not heard of anybody saying this. Though how it is done with great amount of efficiency is a good question. So networking, virtualization, clustering. So so your data could be lying in maybe 100 servers, some in the same place, some in some other country, some other part of the world. They do it smart enough to get everything together and do it. So very rarely will you get an error. Any other questions? Any basic topic you want, anything on industry, anything I can answer?
I want to ask about life projects of all final year students. And you ask such question, how to get life projects, which application I should do. There are a lot of questions now, why you are not asking? Anybody has questions where you should do? You're graduating in the next March, June, July. Where should I apply? He is from industry. Obviously, he knows how a person can get employment. How you should build your career. Any questions on that?
Correct. See, I can tell you briefly what I know about Hadoop. Hadoop has come in because there's a lot of big data which is generated in the cloud, and this helps you how to structure, get the big data and do more processing on it, but I don't know more about it. So it really comes in the realm of big data and how to use the cloud and get the big data and crunch it. No data in your academic and your future endeavors. Thank you.
Interesting session, especially the ones with videos. I never had an opportunity to see the Google big data center in North Carolina. So that's what we saw today. I think most of you have not seen. Now, by looking at that kind of center, you can understand what type of roles you are going to play in future. You may be a person who is working in big data centers. Okay, so that is where the opportunities are. Okay, so please keep these things in mind, and if you have any questions, you can always come back to us and we will send the questions to Mr. Ashok. He is ready to answer. If you want to interact with him after this session, also you are welcome. If you are shy in asking question openly, you can talk to him after this session is over. On behalf